Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew, and this is Museum Makers Live, filmed on location at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences in downtown Raleigh. Welcome. Hope you enjoy the stream today. We're going to be talking about science and nature, maybe a little bit of technology, all while playing Minecraft. The lab I'm in right now is called the Viz Lab, or the Visual World Investigate Lab. It is one of several laboratories here at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, and it is special in that you can visit us and walk right into the laboratory. It is open most of the time that the entire museum is open, which is 6 days a week. And this museum is a special museum because it is a world-class museum. It is the largest science museum in the Southeast, and it does not have an admission fee. You can just walk right in. So what do we do in this lab? Well, in this lab, we teach about science and technology using lots of digital exhibits. We have touch screens, we do projection mapping, we have augmented reality, but it's also a maker space, which is what you see behind me right now. And in this maker space, we do a lot of building and coding using electronics and Arduinos and Raspberry Pis, and we build robots, and we do an awful lot of 3D printing. In fact, if you hear a faint humming in the background, that's probably the 3D printer that's printing right next to me right now. So the purpose of this stream is for us to talk to you about all these different topics, but also if you have any questions about anything, any questions that you've been burning to ask a museum curator or a scientist about science or nature, the environment or technology, we're here to help with that. So why don't we go ahead and get into Minecraft? Let's go. Time, set, day. So, joining me, as always, somewhere around here, is Audrey, the coordinator of the Viz Lab. Where have you gotten to, Audrey? Are you lost in the swamp somewhere?
Somewhere. I just found some giant lily pads, so I'm playing with those right now.
Oh, cool.
Let me
It goes
teleport to you.
Fortunate zombie right off the bat. So Audrey and I both have backgrounds in environmental science, and myself in particular, I have quite a bit of background, as it happens, in wetland science and in water quality. So the topic today, did you make a friend?
I did.
The topic today, it's called swamp science, but it's going to be about wetlands. Swamps are a type of wetland, and all the creatures that live in it and what their functions are and the different types and things like that. So we're going to start off in the swamp biome, and then we're going to move on to the mangrove swamp biome, and then we're going to move on to the museum. So the museum in real life is pretty large, and what we're doing in Minecraft, and you'll see it towards the end of the stream, is we're recreating this museum at 1-to-1 scale within the game, every bit of it, outside and inside. And then when we're done with that, then we'll release it online for anyone to download. So look forward to that. But why don't we, before we even go into the wetland, why don't we start over here? So what will be the maybe the right word isn't the opposite of wetland, but connected to a wetland. If it's the biome that is connected to a wetland in real life is typically called an upland. And so that's what you could call this area here, which is transitioning in this right here into a wetland. But before we get there, this is the upland area. So when it rains, the water is going to fall here and then move its way towards the wetland area because that is going to have a lower elevation. Rain always flows downhill, as you'd imagine. And so if you're looking for the wettest part of a forest, the wettest part of any habitat, you would follow the slope of the land. Usually the lowest parts will be the wettest.
Traditionally, people have long lived in the upland transitional habitat of wetlands, where you can build your home and live and farm here on the side of the wetland, and get resources, fish out of the wetland, hunt out of the wetland, um, and like harvest trees and all of that sort of stuff. Here in North Carolina, the coastal wetlands, which is most of our wetlands are coastal wetlands. The coastal wetlands are historically territory of the Lumbee and Wakamasuan tribes.
And it makes a lot of sense because you're going to find the most amount of resources where there's the most amount of water, but you wouldn't necessarily want to be right in the middle of a swamp or live right in the middle of a wetland.
It's hard to
That
build
can be very
on
challenging.
mud.
And so that's why if you look on Google Earth, for example, historically people have always lived near water because they have to be near water to irrigate their crops. But also, if they can be near a wetland, they'll have access to more types of plants and animals. Wetlands serve as there are creatures that live there all the time, but they also serve as nurseries for other types of wetlands. What is it, a salamander?
I think it's a lizard, but I'm
A
not
lizard?
positive.
It just ran right into me and like moved me for no reason whatsoever.
If I attacked you, I think you would attack it.
Your lizard is a little aggro. That's funny. That's fine. So you think it'll... Let me try. No, it's just confused.
Hold on.
Are you trying to hit me?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. It might help defend you. Maybe I need to be in Survivor.
Oh well.
Yeah, I'll go into Survivor. That'd be a fun experiment. Okay, I'm in survival. Oh, how could you? All right, now I'll try punching it. Come here. There.
If you kill my lizard, I'm gonna be so mad.
No, lizard doesn't care.
Okay. I thought it was gonna be like a wolf, but I did tame it. I gave it a spider eye. So you eagle-eyed Minecraft players will notice that this is not base game vanilla Minecraft. We have alluded to adding more biodiversity into the game. So we have a lot of animals and a couple of extra plants in the game added, including this little lizard here. There's no lizards in base game Minecraft, unfortunately.
So this pig here, we can talk about this pig. You wouldn't find a pig like this in a wetland. However, you will find boars.
There are
and wild
boars.
hogs.
We have a mod for boars. Hold on.
Oh, do we? That's right.
Let me
Yeah, whip one out.
pull one out. But there are also a lot of hog lagoons and hog farms here in North Carolina that are along the well, I'm trying to find this. Okay.
Waterways,
Along
streams.
the waterways and towards the coast in the uplands of down east is what we call it.
That's right. And they use that because they can use those streams to help get all the hog effluent off of their property.
There's a boar.
There we go. Okay, so this is by far the most dangerous animal you're going to find in most wetlands.
And that's including alligators and crocodiles.
Absolutely. The reason for that is that, I mean, mammals in general are often more bothered by human presence than reptiles and amphibians. And wild boars can get very large, and be very aggressive, very territorial, because they're trying to protect their group. They can also, if the predators that naturally prey on them are eliminated from their environment, then they can overpopulate, or their population can become so large that they end up damaging the ecosystem because they do a lot of damage to the ground and to the vegetation as they rut around. You've probably heard in the past that farmers sometimes have trouble with them. Well, they can affect natural ecosystems as well and be an issue if their natural predators have been eliminated. There goes a rather large snail. Will it eat those plants? Oh, so we have two types of snails. I don't know where this one came from. For anyone interested, let me list off, and I need to put this in the chat or something, list off the mods that we're using here. I should probably always do this.
Yeah, we should put it in the description, in the video
Yeah.
description.
So not all of these, I'm not going to list every mod we're using, but I'm going to list the ones that I think include animals. Clutter.
Yep.
Hybrid aquatic. Naturalist. Pick your poison. And wildlife. I believe
And then
those
our
are all.
own mod, but our own mod is not currently available or completed.
Yes. We are gradually working on our own mods for this game as well, for the museum that we've been building in particular. So let's see. Is there anything else right around here worthy?
If you teleport to me, I've got a beaver right here.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, there we go. You want to tell us about this little beaver?
So we've got a beaver here. Beavers do like wetlands, although they primarily like an environment that has some running water. That they can dam up and control a pond system. That way they can sort of build it exactly to their specifications, so they can build their environment perfectly.
I'm gonna move this beaver out of the shadow.
So interestingly about beaver behavior and beaver, I guess psychology would be the word.
Beaver psychology
Is that beavers are have been shown to actively dislike the sound of running water.
Oh, really?
And if they hear running water, it prompts them to start doing creating dams and doing their dam building behavior, which is very cool.
That is cool. I've seen more than one video of beavers. Oh, jeez. Lizard just pushed him right into the water. I've seen more than one video of people rehabilitating beavers in their own home and the beaver trying to make a dam using clothes and toys in a hallway. Probably because people keep turning the faucets on. That's funny. Okay, I don't think this guy's too happy in the water. You can go, buddy. You can do it. Need a little hand? Beaver airlift. There we go. Now you're good. Yes, and so they will dam up a stream, and that will create a lake, and then they can use that lake. See, beavers do not like to be on land. I don't think they're particularly fast. Their defenses are, I guess, simply their teeth. But in the water, they're very fast and they can hold their breath for a long time. So they're kind of cool and kind of unique in that they create their own habitat, a really big habitat. This isn't like the spittlebug that we've mentioned before that just makes a little protective bubble nest around it. These guys will change an entire forest to suit them, which I think is really cool. And then, of course, in their beaver dam, they'll store enough wood and food for their babies, but also to survive a winter and just kind of chill out in there. They're really amazing.
We might do a beaver specific episode another day.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to talk about with
beaver
behavior and ecology.
Okay. Let's go. Well, are these mangroves right here?
I don't see any mangroves. I just see
Oh yeah, we're not there yet. Okay.
yeah, we're gonna have
All
to
right. So where
teleport to them.
is this? Well, all of this is a swamp, I guess. So a swamp is a type of wetland. Now, wetlands are water lilies. Wetlands have specific definitions state by state. They have legal definitions because you can't always just do whatever you want to a wetland, because wetlands are very important to the ecosystem and to human health as well, which we'll go over. But in general, a wetland is a habitat that is more often than not wet. Doesn't have to be soaking, or doesn't have to have standing water all the time anyways, but it needs to be wet enough that specific plants live there that would not live in the upland, that have unique soils that upland areas do not have. And plants and animals that are unique to that biome. That's generally how wetlands are defined. And in this Minecraft world, you have a couple different types of wetlands. One is the mangrove swamp, which we'll get to later, and the other is just a regular swamp. And a swamp is a wetland with trees, a lot of trees in it, but also a lot of standing water. So
and because of that tree cover, that also influences the water quality. So a swamp is typically more acidic because of the tannins, the tannic acid that drop down from the deciduous trees' leaves.
yes, deciduous trees and even conifers, their needles and their leaves have a low pH value. And so just like if you brew a cup of tea, you're just using dead leaves in most cases to make that delicious tea. Is turning brown, but it's also more acidic than what the water was to begin with.
In North Carolina, there are several black water systems. There are a couple of black water systems elsewhere in the United States, but I cannot remember where they are off the top of my head. But black water systems are systems, freshwater or brackish systems that are so full of tannic acid that the water looks like it's black. It's dark, dark, dark brown. And there's certain kinds of fish that really like that super acidic water. And other kinds of creatures that thrive in that dark water.
So one of the things in Minecraft that I can see right now that's different from in real life is how the trees are handled in these ecosystems. So in a true wetland, especially one like a swamp where there's standing water all the time, the trees will often be buttressed. And what that means is that the trunk will be where it connects to the ground will be wider than the rest of the trunk. And oftentimes the roots will be more shallow as well. They don't need to dig down deep, using like a taproot or something to reach the water. In fact, they like to spread out because the soil is going to be a bit more loose, so it helps them to be more stable. Oh yeah, you're making it buttress. That's great. One tree that's famously adapted for wetland environments is bald cypress trees. Oh, look at that duck. That duck, well, I don't think we have to worry about this duck because this is already a wetland, so we should be safe. In the last episode, a duck from Duck Corps decided to make its own. Look at it running away from me. It knows. I saw you watching. I saw you. So bald cypress trees are really, really cool because they'll be highly buttressed, but also they create these special types of roots that they call cypress knees. And you've surely seen them before. They are these roots that come, so it starts underground attached to the tree, but then the root will go out a ways, a few feet or more, and then come up. And it looks like if a tree were to have a knee, that's what it looks like. And I believe that helps with the I have to look that up. I think it helps with the stability of the tree. But also I seem to remember something about oxygen, but I could be wrong.
So it is easier. Oxygen is more available in air than it is in water. And so the when the bald cypress respirates, it needs to release that oxygen, and it can release only a certain amount into the water before it becomes saturated. So it needs to release some from the roots into the air as well. That's my understanding.
Okay. That's and that's what I thought as well. I just hadn't thought or heard of it for a long time. Yeah, that looks a lot better.
Here, actually, I want to do it this way.
Yeah, change you. Yeah, that's way better. That's cool. Your poor lizard swimming along.
There we go. I like that.
Excellent. Okay, what else do we see
When we go
here?
to the mangroves, we can talk a bit about that buttressing and the way that different trees interact with so much water
Okay.
as well.
We're just going to explore a little bit and talk about what we see.
You want to talk about the cattails?
Yeah. Did we determine if they're cattails?
Yes, there are two different kinds of cattails here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Where's
a cattail?
There's these lighter ones, and then there's
okay.
Darker ones over here.
They went through the trouble of making two different versions?
I don't know if it's different mods or not.
Oh, yeah, probably right. Yeah, this does... Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so cattails are a different plants have different ratings for what type of water environment they like to be and how much water they need, how hydric the soil needs to be. Cattails will be way up there. They like to be in the water most of the time, or at least the ground needs to be saturated all of the time. And they're extremely prolific, so prolific that they can easily take over an area, because the part that looks like a corn dog at the top, that's where the seeds are grown and released. And they release each one must release thousands of seeds. And the seeds, if you haven't seen them before, remind me of the seeds from a dandelion puff. They float. They're feathery and they can float really far. And they're extremely hardy. And they can easily take over a pond or a lake very easily. So cattail eradication is a big business, is a big problem. In North Carolina, it's a problem, and I'd hazard a guess in most places it's a problem. I don't know where they're not a problem. They're such a hardy plant.
The other plant that is growing here, that grows naturally in swamps in Minecraft and in real life, is the sugar cane. So we've got our sugar cane here. Sugar cane does not naturally grow in North Carolina, but many of its relatives do. Other cane plants, so switch cane, river cane, mountain cane. And these are all used, have been used for their fiber and for their building materials for thousands and thousands of years. So when you are building your sugarcane farm in Minecraft to get as much paper as you possibly can, think about the fact that these canes have always been useful and part of human history. We've always used these special plants that basically are little hollow tubes that we can turn into whatever we need them to be. Another one farther
Wait,
north is dogbane.
hold on a sec,
Does
Audrey.
this.
What did you say the sugar cane's used for in Minecraft?
Oh, for making paper, you need to make a fiber.
Paper.
So it turns into fiber, and then you turn that into paper.
Can you do that in real life with sugar cane?
Sugar
Never heard
cane,
of
no,
that.
but other canes, yes.
Okay.
So
And
like
so,
papyrus
right?
is comes from a cane plant.
Okay. All right. So this is a reed, isn't it? Like, and I presume it's related to bamboo's related to it as well, probably.
Bamboo
Okay.
is
I mean,
one of
everything's
the
related to
Asian
everything.
cane varieties, yeah.
Okay. Minus all the sugar.
Yeah, sugarcane, I want to say sugarcane is native to South America or Central America, but I can't remember.
That sounds right to me. Okay, let's explore a little bit more. We've got lily pads. Lotus plants and lily pads, they can also, they're also very hardy and can take over a pond, which isn't always a bad thing. What are those? Oh, it isn't always a bad thing, but very much changes the ecosystem because they shade out the water. So something Audrey mentioned earlier was how cypress knees, one of the purposes is that they help with oxygen absorption by absorbing it from the air rather than the water. So one of the features of a swamp is that the water isn't always moving. It's still. And so as a result, the level of dissolved oxygen in that water is going to be lower than in, say, a river or stream, because it's not, it takes movement of the water to mix oxygen into it. So if it's just standing still, it becomes what you would consider stagnant.
Swamps are also not always, but often in warm places. And warmer water also has a lower dissolved oxygen content.
I think there are catfish in here that are decimating the local fish population.
Yeah. There's
Goodness.
catfish and bass. I keep seeing dead bass.
One of the plants that I wish we had looked for, we should have looked for a mod for this plant. We really should have, but I guess it could be its own episode.
Oh, I want to do carnivorous plants.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's.
Do you want to
I
talk
want
about
to
that a little bit?
I want to do that on its own episode. And if there is not a mod for them, I want to make one. That's
Absolutely.
something I've wanted to do for a while. So.
And to have one that, imagine if we could get one to actually work.
Right,
with, like
an
beetles.
actual, yeah.
That'd be great. I mean, maybe it could start off, maybe actually use an animal mod.
And it could predate on beetles. Like if you made a pitcher plant.
Yeah.
So it would be a stationary entity. That would work, I think.
So wetlands are it's wetland areas where you're going to find the most amount of carnivorous plants. And the reason why is pretty simple. The reason why carnivorous plants exist, the reason why they have been successful, is that they have found an alternative way to acquire nutrients. In wetland areas, you're not, certain wetland types are going to be nutrient deficient, or they're going to have a really high pH level.
Low pH level.
Low pH level. I was getting backwards. And the reason for that nutrient deficiency is that for some wetlands, if it's constantly raining, then those nutrients are getting washed out all the time. And so if you can find an alternative way to get the nutrients you need, like carnivorous plants do, they do very well. North Carolina, so there are a few main types of carnivorous plants. There are your pitcher plants, which grow these little vessels that hold water and attract insects that fall into the water and then digest them, kind of like a stomach. There are sundews, which look like their leaves can look like tentacles or paddles that have this sticky dew on them. And when an insect lands on it, it curls up and digests it. There are Venus flytraps, famously, which use electricity to close their little traps around a creature that has triggered their little trigger hairs. It digests them there. And then there are
Pinguicula is another one.
What's it called?
Pinguicula.
Pinguicula.
Those are the ones that look like they look like succulents, but they have a sticky coating on the outside of their leaves.
Oh, butterwort.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, a butterwort. I mean, you would really have to know your carnivorous plants if you saw a butterwort to know that that was a carnivorous plant, because it is the least carnivorous looking plant in the world.
Yeah, it looks just like your like houseplant succulent. It looks like a what are those? Like a hen and chicks or something.
Yeah. It might move a little bit. I seem to remember that the edges of the leaves might curl up a little bit so that rain won't wash out their prey. They're like the sundew as well, in that they're very sticky. Their leaves are broad and sticky usually. And then there's bladderworts, which are an extremely successful plant found on, I think, every continent but Antarctica. And there are terrestrial and aquatic bladderworts, and they're really interesting. So it doesn't look like much. You usually don't see it unless you see their flowers. But, and they don't have, at least the water variety, I don't think it has traditional roots and stems. But they have these little sacs that, when they haven't been triggered yet, when they're not in use yet, they are sealed up and closed up, and there isn't any air inside the sac. It's a vacuum. And then they have little trigger hairs. And if something swims by, like a little water flea, then it'll open up a little lid, and then the little bladder will expand quickly, because it was a vacuum, and that sucks in anything that was nearby, and then it closes, and then it'll digest it right there. Their bladderworts are really, really cool. These are types of creatures you're going to find in wetlands. Wetlands, one of the things I love the most about wetlands is that the amount of biodiversity in a wetland is probably greater than any other biome. It's like they're like the coral reefs of the ocean. Well, I've
the
forced
biodiversity
everyone
of wetlands, especially coastal wetlands, is extremely high. I guess the only comparable
giant slime. Sorry.
I got distracted too. I found an alligator and it's spinning in circles for some reason.
Cool.
The only real comparable terrestrial or semi-terrestrial biome is rainforests, tropical rainforests.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they're also very wet.
I wonder if this will work. I'm going to try switching my skin. I'm going to see if it crashes the game, because I should be wearing my field attire.
Oh, it's raining. Now, the other big thing about wetlands, and I can talk about this when we go to the mangroves, or we can talk about it here.
Oh, it worked.
And we'll definitely talk about it when we do our wetlands restoration.
Nice.
But wetlands are extremely important in protecting the terrestrial land of coastal areas. But I think we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Sure. Oh, a lot more, definitely. Ooh, look at those fires. That's nice. And it is currently raining, which is apropos to where we are.
In Minecraft, we've got the moss blocks, although for some reason they don't put moss blocks in the swamps, even though I think they should.
Absolutely.
They're just in the lush cave system. They do have moss grow on things like the moss carpet, but there should definitely be moss blocks, because wetlands, swamps especially, have peat moss, different types of peat moss, which are these really thick, lush, super soaked moss species. The one around here is sphagnum moss. But there's peat moss in kinds of peat moss in England and all over the place. They work as excellent sponges for different creatures to live in.
Yes, peat bogs are extremely important. And peat is also important to humans. Peat mining for peat is a big business. And unfortunately, it can also really, really damage the environments where it's done.
Part of the reason for that is that
Alligators.
peat is an excellent hydrocarbon fuel. So it it's full of energy. And when it's dried, it burns for a lot of energy. So if you've heard of peat fires, that's sort of the ancient way of dealing with peat. But nowadays we use it for all sorts of other things.
Oh, I don't think I have sound turn up on this game. Sorry, everyone.
Oh,
Let
I
me
found another
fix
lizard.
that.
Oh, did
There
I?
we go.
No, never mind.
Not too loud. I don't think so. If anyone thinks that the music, the sound from the game is too loud, just let me know.
I don't hear the sound from the game. I'm listening.
Well, I just realized I had it off from the last time I used it, so I just turned it up.
Okay.
That's too bad. I need to set up the soundboard so it's much more obvious to me. I'm always looking at it. So I often mess up with the sound levels. Well, I was hoping to see some little frogs, but I haven't seen
I don't
any
see
yet.
any. I saw them earlier, but I don't remember if I saw them in this swamp or in the mangrove swamp.
And I'll be really excited if I find the new frogs. If I don't...
Yeah, I think the new frogs are probably just in the tropical forests, which that'll be another episode that I can absolutely talk about.
Oh, that would be fun, yes.
Tropical
Yeah, I'm sure
ecology is one of my favorite biomes.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
There's a butterfly. This particular swamp here is connected to several other biomes, like those uplands that we were talking about. And where wetlands connect to other biomes, you have an influx of biodiversity, because these transitional areas have essentially twice the organisms of just one biome, because they have organisms from just the swamp and organisms from just the uplands mixed together, because they're basically both on the edges of what they can survive. And wetlands themselves kind of act like the edge of marine environments. If you're talking about a coastal wetland, marine environments to freshwater environments. Do we want to head to the mangroves?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. I think, Audrey, isn't the plant in front of me, is this duckweed?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh, I found a frog.
Oh, I'm coming.
Oh, there's another one over there. There they are.
Nice.
Frogs.
Hello, friend. Oh, it's croaking. It's happy because it's raining. My daughter's White's tree frog, Dumpy frog, has started croaking for the first time.
Oh, that's great.
It's great. what's nice is that it's not like a normal. It's not like a lot of other tree frogs. It's not super loud. In fact, I thought it was a toy at first. Oh, so you tamed it. What did you?
I didn't tame it. I'm having it breed. If I can find 2 of them together, then.
Oh, so you're whacking it with some slime?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can't.
Well-
I don't know what happened to the other one.
Oh. I found it. I'll leash it. Bring it over. Come with me, fella. Where'd he go? Did he jump on a tree? Oh, there he is. Okay, I have them together. I don't know what to do, though.
Where are you?
I don't know.
Oh, there you are. There you go, guys.
So you just make them both happy, and then if they're near each other, the magic of life occurs?
Yes.
Okay. All right, do
Now,
it.
one of them, I assume, will go off and. I think they already did it now.
There's another lizard. Oh, there's 3. Now, but they skip the tadpole phase?
Nope. This is just the 3 that were already here. This
Oh,
one
it's-
is wandering off. I think it's going to go lay eggs.
Okay. Oh, all right. So it's a throuple. All right. Go, fellas. Do it. Oh, there it is. It did it. It did it. It did not do it in a good place, buddy. You picked very poorly. Oh, they're 2D. They're not 3D. That's funny. They're just little faces. Oh, guys, this is not a good environment for frogs. This is not. But this is like where you'd see like a leviathan or something. This is not. However, that being said, did you ever see in the news, I don't remember how many years ago, I want to say it might be Loch Ness Lake or some incredibly deep lake. Look that up.
What were we going to... You said you wanted to talk about something before we got distracted by frog. Oh, yeah. Duckweed we also have from a mod. That's from the Naturalist mod, I think.
From 2007. You all can Google this if you look up toad found in Loch Ness Lake. It's got to be the only article. So there was a submersible that went down to the bottom, and it found and took a picture of a toad at 750 feet down. And it's fine. It was just hanging out. And they got closer to it and it just swam away. It was nothing.
What kind of toad?
It just looks like a regular toad like what we have.
That's weird.
No. It's awesome. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, there's a frog spawn. That's cool. Okay, I'm gonna set it to day again so I can find some duckweed.
There's some duckweed and giant lily pads where I am.
Oh my gosh, come on, Michael. Set. Time. Day. No? Time. Set. Day. And giant lily pads?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Okay. These look like...
Those are regular lily pads, and then we got the giant ones over here.
Your lizard was spinning on one. That was funny. Okay, cool. This looks great. You know what we need to find before... Oh, well, the mangrove swamp is where you have the dark water. Okay, okay. Yeah, so duckweed's really interesting. Everyone has probably seen duckweed before, even if they didn't know it. Duckweed kind of looks like this, but much, much
Oh,
smaller.
my lizard drowned.
Oh, I see that.
How did that happen?
Jeez. Well, I mean, it's a lizard.
Yeah.
What is on the bottom there? Like,
It dropped its tail, I think.
oh, it did.
Yeah, it did.
That's funny.
So when it goes down to half health, they drop their tails.
Oh, does it?
As that's one of the things in the mod. So when they lose half their health, they drop their tails, and there is a chance that whatever was attacking them, if something was attacking them, will choose the tail as a target instead of
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do in real life and why they do that. So when you're catching lizards, you should never grab them by the tail because they may be a species that even if it breaks off, they'll be okay, but some of them aren't made to break off easily.
It's still a lot of stress, and many
Yeah.
species cannot grow back their tails. They can just detach them.
And so sometimes when you see a lizard, you may see that his tail looks a little funky, like maybe it's a little smaller or darker, and that's because in the past it had to regrow it.
Yeah, you wouldn't
Which-
want to have to regrow your whole arm. Even if you could regrow your whole arm, you wouldn't want to have to do that.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, they regrow their tails. I don't know if we mentioned
Not
that.
always.
But yeah,
Some
they
of
break
them
off.
do, some of them don't.
Oh, so yeah, well, that makes sense.
So
Well, anyways,
be careful.
okay. Yeah, don't do it. So duckweed, they're these little plants that live on the surface of water. Their leaves are just 2 to 4 maybe millimeters across. They're very, very small. And yet some of them can produce flowers, and they are the smallest flowering plants in the world. They don't have roots. I believe that their leaves are not true leaves. And they, no, they do have roots, or they have a structure that's like a root that'll dangle down. They do really well in waters with high nutrient loads, so lots of phosphorus and nitrogen. So if you have an area near land where there's a lot of runoff, like maybe from a field or a stream that goes really far, you might find a good bit of duckweed there. Or a pond that's at a low level, where water drains from fields into the pond. They can get a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus that way and multiply. And that can be good because it helps remove that from the water, which if there's too much of it, that can create problems with algae and creatures that can't live with those high levels.
They also do a lot of shading out the same way lily pads do. So if other plants want to grow under them, they don't have enough light.
Yeah, so like anything else, they have their pros and they have their cons from the environment. So a balance is important. One of the things, and if you have them, it's very difficult to get rid of them because they're so small and because they multiply so quickly. One single duckweed plant can create a daughter plant in the course of a single day. That's how fast they can multiply. And they spread very, very easily because if, say, a duck were to land in a pond full of duckweed, you would know if you ever stuck your hand in duckweed, it sticks to you really easily. It's not sticky per se, but because water sticks to it easily and it's so small and light that you can pick one up with just a single drop of water. And so it'll stick to a duck, and then a duck, of course, is going to fly to another pond. And so most water sources end up getting duckweed in some way or another. So they are important to the ecosystem, but they can take over and cause problems, like a lot of things can. Okay. Was there anything else we can think of that's unique to simply this biome? Or should we move over to?
So we talked about the tannins in Blackwater, which is more common in freshwater swamps. Oh, anything about these vines? I don't know what they would be. really. I know like ficuses like high water environments, but I'm not sure exactly why the vines are here.
I don't know that you necessarily see more vines than usual in a wetland. In fact, I think I see them more often in uplands than I do in wetlands. Now, well, yeah, if we're speaking specifically about vines, there are kind of like vine-like plants that you will find in wetter areas.
Oh, and in the coastal plain there are a lot of vining plants. But not so much in swamps.
Here in North Carolina, we'll have ivy, but we'll also have, I think, smilax is probably more common.
Wild ginger.
Oh, that's a vine?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. We have wisteria, which is not native. We have kudzu, which I guess is native to North Carolina. No, it comes from Asia.
It comes from Asia, yeah.
That's right.
Very, very invasive.
Very.
An invasive organism is a plant or animal or other kind of organism that came from somewhere else and does not have any natural predators and is able to outcompete native flora and fauna.
All right. Well, this is a pretty good transition time. The 3D printer just finished printing over the course of what was it? I think 2.5 hours. It printed this, which are pieces to a large T-Rex skull. So why don't we move over to a mangrove swamp, and while you start talking about mangroves, I'm going to get the printer printing some more pieces. Oh, I think this biome is really fun, and I think there's more we could talk about here.
I think we should come back here when we talk about our carnivorous plants.
Absolutely. Can you, if you haven't already, mark this on your map?
Yeah, I can do that. Hold on.
Look at this biome over here. I'm gonna check this out. What is that? Is that a bat? Oh no, it's a butterfly. Okay.
It's just a really big butterfly.
Yeah, it looks really big. The scaling is a little off. Okay, so this is nothing. Trees look unusual to me. I get caught up exploring Minecraft. I haven't been playing Minecraft for a long time. I've mostly just been playing it in creative mode to build the museum. So I haven't actually explored Minecraft worlds very much. Wow, this is a pretty area. This is nice. My goodness. But yes, yeah, when you're where you want to be, let me know and I'll teleport to you.
Yes, we are.
We're not only playing it, we're streaming it live right now. Oh, right. Yes. Yes, it'll be open. Thank you. See ya.
Today, this part of the museum is closed in preparation for an event this evening.
Yes, that's why it's quieter than usual.
Normally,
if anyone has noticed, there aren't any people around us because again, this lab is open to the public most of the time that the museum is open.
Oh shoot! I forgot to. I'm lost.
So usually there's lots of people coming and going.
I can get to the mangrove swamp from the museum, but I don't think I can get there from here.
Okay. Well, I was just going to keep tooling around here until you find it. You just let me know.
Okay.
So some of these fish, I'm pretty sure they're not from the vanilla version of the game, are tiger barbs, which I'm pretty excited to see, or some type of tiger barb. And this is a fish that is really popular in the aquarium world. And you'll find it in blackwaters too, I believe. They're really cool. Very hardy little fish. So one of the reasons why, so my degree is in environmental science, but also I have worked as a wetland scientist I think that was my title, at an environmental consulting firm. So I spent a lot of time in the wetlands of Florida.
Can you send me the coordinates for the museum?
Yes.
All right, I just don't have them.
That's all right. Here. I did a lot of work in wetlands, plants and wildlife and
Did you send it on
soils.
Teams?
What's that?
Did you send it on Teams?
I'm about to. I'm making sure I don't send it to Carrie as well. Again. There we go.
Thank you.
I have also worked for the North Carolina State Division of Water Quality, which was all about waters of North Carolina, doing GIS, creating maps, and determining buffer zones and all sorts of things like that. I've also worked in an analytical laboratory. So I'm the manager of this laboratory, which is like a public education laboratory, but I was also the manager of an analytical laboratory at North Carolina State University at a stable isotope laboratory, doing a lot of water quality analysis using mass spectrometers and other instruments like that. Let's see what else we can see here. Boy, those catfish are really, really hungry. The cattails. Funny story about cattails. I remember my mother telling me once upon a time she cut some cattails and brought them into her house, and she set them up in an arrangement. And I think that arrangement was kind of near a fireplace. And what ended up happening was she left for a while and came back. And I guess because they had dried out and they were just about ready to spread their seeds, they spread their seeds in the same way you would imagine, like if a popcorn machine had exploded. Her whole room was covered in just probably hundreds of thousands of cattail seeds. So don't bring them into your house. What is that creature? Oh, is that a snake? Oh, I found a snake. We haven't seen any snakes.
Oh, awesome. There are some snakes
Awesome.
that spawned inside the museum, but I haven't
Cool.
seen one in the wild yet.
I've seen, of course, many snakes in the wild. The most notable snake I saw was when I was in the deep, dark wetland in Florida. I almost stepped on a rattlesnake. No. Yes, a diamondback rattlesnake. And
All right, I made it to the mangroves.
good. What was notable about that is it was the biggest rattlesnake I've ever seen in my life. Now, I didn't have a camera, and this was like 20 years ago, but my memory is that snake was like this. It was just mythically large. It was absolutely enormous. I could not believe it. And there were others there with me as well. It was just amazing. Oh, snake, you're in the water. Oh, well. Oh, the snakes can swim. That's great. What a nice little detail. Okay. I will teleport to you.
I found something that I really like.
Good.
Look at him.
What is it?
A
Oh, wow.
tortoise. We got
Nice.
a tortoise. Now,
Good.
there's really only one tortoise species that lives but it's more in coastal plains than
Oh, what's
wetlands
this?
like this.
It's another one.
Oh, they're so cute.
This
This
is
is
great.
from I think this is from the wildlife mod, but I'm not sure. So there is one tortoise in North America that lives on
Weird.
in coastal plains called the gopher tortoise.
Oh,
It's an
yes.
endangered. I think it's endangered. Might be threatened.
Yeah, it's listed in some way.
But that's more in the like sand hills sort of environment and less in the
Look at
swamp
you.
like this.
Yes.
But
Yes, they would not do well in a swamp.
this the mangrove swamp is typified by obviously these big mangroves, and these mangroves are buttressed, like we were talking about how those oak trees were not buttressed. We've got all these roots going out crazy, and they're kind of see-through and super funky looking. In real life, they look even weirder than this.
All right, Audrey, would you pick a good spot to stand still
Yeah.
for like 5 minutes?
Yes, I can. Like in here is good.
Wherever you'd like.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. While I am preparing the printer for the next print.
All right. So these trees are all buttressed with these spread out roots. And what makes mangroves super special is that they can grow in salt water. And they can grow in salt water because they have the ability to filter salt water into fresh water through their roots and through their bark. So they can filter out salt and turn it into fresh water. Which most plants are that are not marine plants, marine specific plants, are not very tolerant of saltwater conditions. So mangroves are super cool, and they also are home to lots of really interesting creatures. One of my favorites that lives in the mangroves is the mangrove crabs, which are these little tiny crabs that make their homes inside of holes around the roots of the mangroves. And if you're in like a kayak or a canoe or any kind of boat and you're going by a mangrove swamp, you'll see a bunch of little tiny crabs peeking out from behind the mangrove roots. They're super cute. So this is also different, you'll notice, from the other swamp, because there's a lot more mud here. That makes it seem more like a maritime forest to me. We do have these wetlands here, in these sort of wet pieces, but the amount of mud blocks and the fact that these mangroves are on the mud blocks makes me think that this is more of a transition period from wetland to terrestrial. So maritime forests are these important forest ecosystems along coastal waterways, particularly along rivers, but also pretty much anywhere there's a coast. There's a lot of interesting maritime forest ecosystems here in North Carolina, and there's actually an exhibit all about them downstairs in the other building on the first floor, that talks all about all of our maritime ecosystems. So not just maritime forests, but our coastal plain and our dune structure. There's no dunes in Minecraft. There's deserts, but there's not coastal dunes, sadly. The other thing is about these guys, this particular biome in Minecraft, is we have this different coloration of the water. And we talked about the different coloration of the water. We talked about this different coloration in the swamp area, in the regular swamp area, with the tannins and blackwater ecosystems, which those also exist here in mangrove forests. But I choose to interpret this this change in color to indicate that this is brackish water, which is water that is partially salt water and partially fresh water. So it's a mix of the two of salt and fresh water, which goes back to that idea of things on the edge, transitionary periods, transitionary areas for different kinds of organisms. And in these coastal marshes, you end up with a lot of marine animals coming and laying their eggs in this brackish water because it's just salty enough for them to survive. But it's very protected under all of these mangrove roots. So this is a really dense forest. If you've ever been in a Minecraft mangrove forest, or a real one, they're kind of a pain to go through. They're very, very dense, and the roots are all over the place, and it's hard to see. So they're very protective of lots of different kinds of animals. There's a lot of birds that lay their eggs in marshlands. There's a lot of fish. There are some. Oh, we also have the alligators, of course. Alligators love marshlands that are nice and swampy and protected, and also full of yummy fish to eat.
You can walk around now, Audrey,
Okay,
by
cool.
the way.
Another cool thing about mangroves, where are you, Matt? I want to show off the propagules.
I don't know. Let's see.
If you come here, you can...
All right.
All right. So if you look up in the canopy of these mangrove forests, you'll see these sort of these little green pendulum things hanging down. So mangroves propagate themselves, or they reproduce in a different way than most other trees. So most other trees will create a flower, and then that flower will be pollinated, and then that flower will become a fruit or a seed or a nut or whatever. And these guys can do that. Some of them have some lovely flowers, but the main way that they reproduce is actually by cloning themselves using these things called propagules that Matt has planted all around me here. And this is kind of what they look like. It's a little snippet of root that is that has all of the genetic material and growth that these plants need. So it's full of energy and all of the oh, I'm gonna get stuck
That
in
worked great.
here. It's full of everything that the tree will need to grow. And the amazing thing about these propagules, these little tiny clones of the mangrove tree, is that the way that they are weighted, so the aerodynamicness of the propagule itself and the way that they fall from the tree, they fall 90% of the time, they fall perfectly so that the root is in the dirt and the leaves are in the air. So they fall just straight up and plant themselves exactly how they need to be planted, which is very cool. And just like very a great example of how evolution allows for these creative solutions.
Makes sense. They'll be the most successful.
Mm-hmm.
I remember many a time seeing these little propagules in real life floating in the ocean. That also, and that quality that they have is the bottom being heavier allows them when they're floating to they kind of like a little buoy. The leaves are sticking straight up out of the water, and the bottom part is in the water, and so that must help them as well, because then they can spread really far to like a distant island and still like photosynthesize and everything.
Yeah,
Oh.
So there's 3 different kinds of mangroves in North and South America. There's the red mangrove, the white mangrove, and the black mangrove. And those are the only 3 species of mangrove in the Americas, and they range from, I think, Virginia, maybe up to like Maryland, all the way down to the southern part of Chile. Like
Wow, you wouldn't think of them in Virginia.
they go
That's
way, way far.
Wow. Well, I like how, just like in real life, this tree is very the environment is very dense with their branches.
Yes. Yeah, it is about
Cool.
as irritating to go through a mangrove swamp in real life as it is in Minecraft. It's so dense, and in Minecraft you aren't stepping through real mud.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to do
Yes.
wetlands research.
Well, there must be some unique things in this biome then, since it's difficult to traverse. I'm just exploring now to see what I can find. I've never explored
You
one of these
might find
mangrove
some
biomes.
of my electric eels. I
Oh,
think
I hope so. This is
they seem to be messed up. They're just sort of floating in the air and not in the water, and they also don't shock anymore.
Oh no! What happened?
No,
Poor guys. Oh, what do we have
I
here?
did something wrong with the mod.
Well, this isn't what you'd expect to find. Let's see what's going on over here.
I love the
Bubbles.
tortoises a lot. So there are
Yes.
turtles in these environments, but not tortoises.
Right. You would find them in like the Sand Hills region of North Carolina.
Yeah. Or in Florida, it would be I guess, are there sand hills in Florida? I think so. Well,
Yes.
they have
There
they have longleaf pine forests as well.
And what is it called? There's an environment that turkey oaks love to grow in that is very sandy as well.
Oh yeah, scrub.
Or maybe. Oh wow.
I can't remember.
What is this? Oh, there's I found sea cucumbers for the first time, and they just kind of hop around for some reason.
Oh, I didn't know that there were sea cucumbers.
There are.
Is that from the new aquatic mod?
Probably. I'm not sure. That's great. That's great. Yes. What is that? Oh, that's a cuttlefish. Nice. Nice. Well, I am out of the mangrove swamp. I need to get back in.
Within the mangrove swamp, we also have there's a lot of bird biodiversity. So in general,
in the game?
there's not in Minecraft, unfortunately,
Oh, that's
but
too bad.
in real life, the bird biodiversity in mangrove forests is really high. This is where you'll find things like roseate spoonbills, so those pink birds with the weird
Fancy.
funky faces. And you'd find anhingas, and you'd find cormorants, which are two of my
Yes.
favorite birds.
Oh, hey, Bella.
So anhingas and cormorants are they're kind of like geese, I guess. But they're called one of the nicknames for them is the snake neck bird,
Oh, sure.
because they have this long, flexible neck that they use to hunt for fish. And the funny thing about anhingas is that they don't have any oils in their feathers like other water birds do. So they have to when they dive into the ocean or into a lake to go fishing, they have to come out and then they sit on the edge of like on a tree or something like that, and they spread out their wings and allow the wings to dry in the sun. So they basically they sit and bask like a lizard does because they're too wet.
They're really easy to identify.
Yeah.
Whether they're in the water, looking like a snake, or drying their wings. Yes. Yeah, they're really cool. They can dive down pretty far to catch
The
fish.
cormorants, a little bit like penguins. So cormorants do have those oils, and
Okay.
also their feather structure, kind of like penguins do, has this structure that encourages bubbles around them to allow them to swim a little faster.
Cool.
And I think one of the other reasons behind it that people have said is that it kind of masks their movement for fish, because they're fish largely they use their eyesight, but their biggest help in navigation is their lateral line. So the way that they look for disturbances by a touch, essentially, and those bubbles supposedly disrupt the way that the fish interact
Oh,
with them.
okay. That makes more sense. The lateral lines are in the fish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. And the
Although,
bubbles. That's interesting.
about the lateral line, I learned this while I was in college. This is just a fun fact about lateral lines and birds. Is that the same structure that is inside of the lateral line in a fish is at the base of every feather that a bird has.
Oh, interesting.
So when they're flying, they're able to tell what how the air is interacting with their wings.
Okay.
It's like
Evolution.
it's a little sensor inside of a jelly mound, essentially.
Wow. That's really cool. Did you say that there was a net for these butterflies? Didn't you?
Yeah,
at one
but I
point?
couldn't figure out how to use it. I tried to
Alright.
use it earlier, and I
Oh,
could
there
not
it
get
is.
it to work.
Yeah, so I think the most famous creature, if you've ever heard of lateral lines before, something like it would probably be the shark. 'Cause you can see them really easily. Where'd it go? That butterfly just like pummeled the ground. Very unbutterfly-like. Well, next time I see one, I'm going to try to catch one. There it is. Come here, fella. Come here. A great challenge would be trying to catch butterflies in survival. Yeah, we should have a... Okay,
Yeah,
how do we
there's
do
also
Oh.
dragonflies in this
this? Just hit it.
one of the mods that we're using, and
I
they
don't know.
only spawn over mud blocks, which is kind of
Oh.
how dragonflies like to live in real life. If you've ever, this is something that my dad used to have happen to his car when I was a little kid, was dragonflies would fly up and land on the antenna of his car, the long
Yeah.
antenna of his car, and try and lay eggs in
Ah.
in the roof of his car, because it looks reflective and shiny like the surface of water does, and there's a nice beautiful reed sticking out the top of it.
Yeah. I can talk more about dragonflies as well. Maybe we should save it, though.
Yeah.
30. Should we start heading back to the
Yeah,
museum,
I think we
do
should
you
go
think?
back and start our reclamation.
I think we missed an opportunity. I think we should have done this swamp exploration in survivor mode.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I didn't think about that, but I think we really should have. So, like, yeah. Like you said, the alligator can be aggressive.
Yeah, it's aggressive if you go near the eggs.
Oh, near the eggs. Oh, okay.
Or if you attack them.
All right. Let's see, printer's going. That's good.
Do you want the map? I did copy it for you if you want it.
For some reason, the video on YouTube is that the way? No. Okay, there we go. Do I want the map? No, it's all right. Oh, there's a bee out in the rain. Surprising. Is it a bee? No, it's something else. What is that? Oh, it's a firefly. Ah,
Oh.
nice. What's that chemical called? Luciferous something?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think Lucifer is in the name for the chemical that the fireflies use to glow with. Luciferase. Luciferin. Awesome.
That's a cool name. I have never heard that before.
Okay, let's see here. Where is this? Yeah. Okay, back to the museum. I need to change the spawn location because I keep going inside the museum. I'll show off the museum a little bit, I guess, since I'm here, and then
I'm gonna head straight to the wetland area.
okay. Ooh, I'm gonna do something that I probably shouldn't. I'm going to see what happens if I do this. Let's just see what happens to the museum. All right. So, this weather clear. This is the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences in Minecraft. So, technically, this museum is comprised of several buildings spread throughout the state. There are three in Raleigh, or three locations in Raleigh. The two big buildings, the ones you see in front of you, are the Nature Research Center, which is this one right here, and over here is the Nature Exploration Center. The Nature Research Center is the newer of the buildings, opened in 2012, spring of 2012, and hold on. Let's get some better lighting. Oh, that's really good. Opened in 2012, and this is where we are right now, where I am sitting right now. I am right there. So this building is comprised mainly of metal and glass. You can see on the outside and on the inside, many of the walls are glass as well, which means you can look inside of the laboratories, which is really cool because usually those things are off limit. And what the researchers are doing, you don't see because they're usually in a basement. Not here, not at this museum. At this museum, which is starting to become a role model for other future museums, everything's viewable. So this particular museum is about nature, and it's about science, and about how we know what we know. And it has kind of a worldwide or universal focus, whereas a Nature Exploration Center, the other building, is more focused on North Carolina specifically. So there are 3 floors of exhibits. There are 4 floors in total, but 3 of them are full of exhibits. And if you would like a rundown of all the different floors, you can go back to the very first episode towards the end of this, the first episode in this series. featuring axolotls. Oh, little bird, geez. We go through everything. So I'll just give you a really quick look here. So this is all, I've been using blueprints. So this is all as accurate as possible. In Minecraft, each block is a meter cube. This was supposed to be in real life. So I've been using that to decide how to scale and make everything. This is what it looks like. It's a really beautiful building, really unique architecture. I like it a lot. And then the other building, the Nature Exploration Center. So this building is mostly done. We just need to do some more work on the exhibits. The exhibits inside, most of them are smaller than a meter cube. So we, primarily Audrey at this point, have been working on building unique models and exhibits using, or I'll use the steps, using Blockbench, which is a third-party program, a free program that you can use to make models for Minecraft. Let's go down the stairs here. These are just kind of stairs for staff here. That's the big globe. The inside of the globe is actually a theater. Here's a walkway. This is here in real life too. If you look over, you'd be able to see downtown Raleigh here and here. And this leads you into the Nature Exploration Center, which is one that we're still very much working on. I believe the Exploration Center is bigger. It's 4 stories of exhibits. I know that. And some more classical museum building. It's a lot of stone. But anyways, the real reason why we came back here, aside from just showing off the museum real quick, is so that we can do a little bit of wetland work. Let's see, where am I going? I need to go over here. So in real life, wetlands have... There you are. Wetlands have various functions that are important to the nature of that area, but also important to humans as well. So as Audrey had mentioned, humans like to live near sources of water like streams and lakes and oceans and rivers because we need water to do everything we need to do. Well, unfortunately, if you're near water, the water can become a problem. If there is flooding because of storms or tidal surges or excessive rain events, that can cause flooding. Especially in the case of a ocean flooding, ideally you would have some kind of barrier between where humans live and where the ocean is. And one of those natural barriers are wetlands, because wetland is land that is wet, and land that is wet is going to soak up water faster than land that is dry. And maybe that isn't, the reason for that isn't obvious, but it probably actually intuitively makes sense to you if you think about 2 sponges. Think about a sponge that is bone dry. Like usually they can be hard when they're bone dry. And then think about a sponge that's slightly moist. If you have 2 saucers of water and you put one in one and one in the other, I don't think even in using that thought experiment, you would be surprised to see that the moist sponge is going to absorb water faster. And the reason for that is that water is very sticky, as you know. It sticks to itself very, very well. Anything that is hydrophilic, it'll stick to. Anything that's hydrophobic, like a fat, an oil, or a lipid, it's not going to stick to. And so if the sponge already has water in it, then that water in the sponge is going to help to grab onto extra water. And so that's what wetlands do. Wetlands are really good at absorbing water very quickly. So if you have a flood, if the river floods or the ocean comes on land, then if you have land that is saturated or at least partially saturated, it's going to be able to absorb that water much faster than if it wasn't there. Not only that, but wetlands, as we saw, can have lots of trees, especially a mangrove wetland. And that is going to help to absorb water and also, in the case of a storm surge, break up any waves. So they can't travel quite as far. It'll absorb the energy. The impact of the wave on the tree will absorb that energy, and that energy then is no longer in the water. That much energy is no longer in the water, pushing it further upland. But it also has other very important attributes, and that is that wetlands are great filters. This is probably their most important quality to humans and to all environments, is that environments, because they're so biodiverse, but because there's so many creatures that live in them, there's also lots of bacteria, as you would expect in any moist environment. Lots of bacteria that deals with breaking down dead things, decaying things, animals and plants and leaves primarily. Because it's so rich in bacteria that thrives on nutrients, wetlands are great at filtering out nutrients and pollutants that really shouldn't be there to begin with, whether it's runoff from a golf course or runoff from a parking lot. There are lots of different types of bacteria that can break those chemicals down into other molecules that are not as destructive to the environment and human health. And so wetland maintenance and wetland restoration is very, very important, because wetlands are often near bodies of water like streams, which can connect to larger streams, which can connect to the ocean. And so if you have a barrier there that's able to absorb and remove pollutants before it gets to a stream, then it helps keep those streams clean. And those streams which end up emptying out in the ocean, that's also where we get a lot of our food, our seafood. And so it's important for so many reasons for our water bodies to remain clean. Also, where do many people get their water from? They get them from reservoirs. So it's very important that water going into a reservoir, which is just a big lake, whether it's man-made or not, is as clean as possible. And so you would want a buffer zone of plants and wetland habitats filtering all the pollutants from, human activities, whether it's fertilizing crops or fertilizing lawns or runoff from streets. It's very important that all gets cleaned out before it reaches the water that you drink and the water that other creatures drink as well. So what we're going to do is, and this is something I've done in real life as well, what we're going to do is we're going to take this area here, which looks like a natural floodplain, which is an area of land that is flat and near sea level and near the water that can occasionally flood. And it looks to me like this has been terraformed by the villagers that live here. It's just rock. It's a lot of rock and bare dirt. We're going to turn this back into what it probably historically was, which was a wetland. And that way, when the villagers, if they ever do any fishing here, they're able to catch more fish, but also fish that are healthy. Because fish, particularly big fish, will bioaccumulate chemicals in their bodies, and you don't want to eat that. So, do we want this to be a swamp or a mangrove swamp, or just a mixture of both?
I think I like a mixture.
Okay. All right.
I think I have an idea for a way to make the trees look more like bald cypress.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering if maybe there might be some kind of little block that could look like a knee or something like that. That would be a fun, I don't know how easy it is to make modded trees, but that would be a fun new tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a cypress tree. Checking out the printer here. I wonder if I can show you guys the printer. Let's see. Let's see if I have this camera connected here. Let's see, do I? Bench cam. Let's see if that works. Nah, that's all right. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to dig kind of a wavy channel going from kind of where you are to over here to kind of bring water in.
Sounds good. And it will also help irrigate these croplands, which are have spawned very interestingly. It's kind of we've got a terrace here, and it runs in kind of haphazard a little bit.
And this is another good time for anyone that has any questions about science or nature, or technology, or wetlands, or Minecraft, or museums to ask us any questions that you might have as we reclaim this land for the environment, for the wetlands, to help the villagers have a cleaner ocean environment.
And if we have a wetlands, it will be less likely that the village here in the uplands will get flooded.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, very important. Yes, this is a floodplain. You would want it, if you're going to live near a floodplain, which you shouldn't do, and you should never live in a floodplain, ever, 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 even though a lot of people do. You would want something there to protect you. Maybe I should go ahead. Should I do this in survivor mode?
It'll take forever.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm replacing the banks with some mud.
Good. Yes. Yeah, I absolutely wanted to use mud. Is there anything, like, we could be really accurate with this and do like a correct soil profile. The top layer would be organic. So the top layer should be something organic, so maybe it could just be like a grass or a moss block. The next layer should be a peat, but I don't know what we could use for that.
I would say peat should be the moss block, maybe.
Yeah. Underneath that would be a mud block, just to represent muck.
Mm-hmm.
And then underneath that could be the clay block, which would represent glade soils, which are soils that are very poorly drained and are often kind of look like clay and have like blue stains on them throughout them. And then underneath that would be bedrock.
Cool.
So we could go crazy with it if we really wanted to.
I can do that. I am always happy to go crazy. Okay. We've got...
Like I said, I'm just going to begin by doing the shape of this water, this channel here. It'll be nice to have a nice little wetland near the museum.
We should add some frogs in.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I will, after this, then I will level out the wetland, because there are some higher areas where there shouldn't be. It really should So I started off at just, I think where it starts here, you know, the water, it's just one block deep of water. And I think that's how this should all be, really. That makes sense.
Oh, in that
Really.
case, should I dig the soil down? The cross section down?
If you want to do the correct profile, yes, I
Yeah.
think that's what you'd have to do.
Yeah. Oh, there's water under here. Okay.
Oh, so you, unsurprisingly, just like in real life, you very quickly hit the water table.
Yeah, the water table is right here.
So the water table would be where, when you dig down, eventually you will hit water. If you're close enough to a source, like a lake or a river or stream or ocean.
So mud is on top of peat?
No, the muck would be under the peat.
Under the peat. Gotcha.
The peat eventually becomes muck, I guess.
That
I
makes
would
sense.
say. Let me do that outline here. Oh, okay.
I think I will just do a cross section on one side because it's gonna take a while.
Yeah, I
There's
think
other
that
stuff we
sounds
can do.
fine. You could like at one particular spot do a cross section that is visible. You know, like maybe that area is a little bit darker, so you can return to it to point out the different layers. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
Well, like how, you know, if you were to carve out a riverbank, you would see the different layers.
Oh, okay.
If you had an area where you could actually see the soil profile, that I guess is deeper or something like
I
that.
think like at a bend here, maybe?
Yeah, because otherwise, no one's going to ever know that
Yeah.
it's there.
All right. I will do it here at this little bank.
So if anyone's ever seen a river from above, like a photograph or something, you'll notice that there are natural bends. And if no one has ever thought about or realized why that is, I'll tell you why. And that is because soils vary across landscapes. So some areas will have denser soils with more rocks than others. And so when a stream comes upon an area that is, as a stream is growing, if it comes upon an area that is very dense, or there's just a big boulder, then it's going to try to go around it and eat through the softer soil first. So that's how you get those bends. That's why that's very common. And when people are restoring a wetland or a stream, oftentimes they end up artificially creating bends in that stream. And the reason why is because if you create bends in anything, you increase the length of the thing. Oh yeah, there. Yeah, cool. Look, there it goes. So, for example, you could have a string that has a bunch of bends in it, and then measure how long it is without stretching it out. And then, of course, so say it's 5 inches. Then if you stretch it out, you see that it's longer than 5 inches. So that's important for a stream that you're trying to restore, or a stream that you're restoring in order to improve the water quality of an area, because then that gives the pollutants in that water more time to sit in that stream and be absorbed and fixed by the bacteria in the environment. So adding bends is a very common practice. I don't like this big mountain here. Do you think I should blow it up?
What's on the other side?
Well, it just keeps going.
I do like that it sort of defines this river. I just want it to be shorter.
Yeah, that's true. The only thing I don't like about blowing things up is that the crater, it's so messy and leaves an unnatural looking.
Mm-hmm.
What we need is there needs to be maybe there is some kind of block that cannot be blown up by TNT, and then that could be like laid down first as a protective layer, and then all the TNT above it just destroys everything above. That's something that needs to exist.
I don't think you can blow up obsidian.
Maybe like a diamond or...
Yeah, you can't blow up obsidian, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So I guess then that would be very feasible to do it that way. Cool, that's good to know. Oh, I think you put those there. I guess I should leave them. Okay. Let's see how this looks from above. All right, now I'm going to do this. The villagers are probably very confused.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do not have a shared language with the villagers. I don't think Minecraft players actually speak any language now that I think of it.
The NPCs?
No, us. Because we don't talk to each other. I mean, we talk
That's
to each other
true.
in real life, but...
Yeah. Just a reminder for anyone that might be watching, we are playing Minecraft, but we're also talking about nature and science and technology because we are museum curators at a science museum. That is what we do. And if you have any questions you would like to ask, please enter them in the chat. We would be happy to interact with you. Answer your questions. What's over here? Oh, it's a little hermit crab. Cool. Hey, little buddy. Hey, little buddy. So we have a bunch of 3D printers. We do a lot of 3D printing. One little project I've seen people do, and in fact, I think I've done it before, is print shells for hermit crabs.
There are hermit crabs that use trash as a shell source when regular shells are not available.
Mm-hmm. Hermit crabs don't care.
Oh yeah, that's the hermit crab. I thought it was a cicada because of the colors.
Oh, I think that's new. You were talking about gopher tortoises earlier. I've done many gopher tortoise surveys and have even relocated gopher tortoises.
I love gopher tortoises.
They are neat. I've dug them out of their burrows to save them from development. Relocate them. Okay, do a little bit more digging over here, and then I will aid you in adding mud. In wetland ecology jargon, mud, particularly organic mud in a wetland, is referred to as muck. And how mucky the soil is can tell you about the quality and age of the wetland. Soils are... Is this mud here, these dark blocks? Yeah. Okay, good. So is mud going to be the top layer or the bottom layer?
Right now I'm just putting muck at the top because it looks better than the gravel and the stone. Over here I have the little cutout thing with the clay at the bottom, then the muck, and then peat.
So when determining whether in a habitat is a wetland or not?
Actually, I have a different idea for how to do this. The cutout.
In general, you're looking for how often, how wet it is, how wet the habitat is, how often it is wet, what types of plants live there, what type of animals live there, and also what the soil is like. The soil is the best way to determine what type of habitat you're looking at, because the soil is something that accumulates over time. So if the environment happens to be experiencing a drought or a flood or something unusual, even for the past few years, you can still dig down with a shovel or with a soil probe to determine what it historically is, what it typically is. And because wetlands have lots of things that grow and die quickly over time, you have this organic layer, this very organic mud layer that, like we said, is affectionately called muck. You can feel it with your fingers, and that helps you determine if it's a wetland and what type it is and how long it's been a wetland. Analyzing soils is very, very interesting. Some of the coolest maps I think you can get are soil maps. You can get soil maps for every state, and I think maybe even every county in the United States. And they're gorgeous maps because there are so many different types of soils that you can find. And then those soils, like I said, are used to not only determine what a habitat type is, but you can use the soil maps and the soil profile, as it's called, to decide what best will grow in an area. So farmers know all about soil maps. They'll go to their local extension office to get soil maps, or online now, of course. Those are used to decide what will grow best in an area, and regularly taking soil samples let them know whether they should change what they're growing or not to another type of crop. Like maybe their corn isn't doing as well as it should be, but maybe another type would do really well there for a few years. And so one of the things that they'd use, that everyone uses to determine soil types in an area where you need a more detailed view than what a soil map will give you, would be a guide like this. This is a Munsell soil chart, soil color chart. This is my personal copy from when I was a wetland ecologist. These are really cool books that you use to determine soil types. And so it's kind of like paint swatches at your hardware store. You get your soil sample just when you're out in the field, and then you would hold it up to these different colors. Not only can you just hold it up to here, but you can put some like on your finger and hold it up to all these little different holes. So here, I'll show you a closer picture. Hold it up to all these little different holes here so that you can do a really good job comparing it to the colors in here. And then this will tell you what type of soil it is and what it's made up of. You can see mine has gotten a lot of use over the years. And it can tell you how much you can determine how much what the structure is, how much sand is in there, all sorts of classifications. Really, really cool. Not an inexpensive book, because it has to be very, very accurate. We are just going to kind of ignore the fact that this wetland is connected to the ocean. I mean, that's very common. But I think the different types of plants and animals that we're going to be putting in this wetland, Minecraft does not seem to differentiate between freshwater and saltwater when it comes to flora and fauna.
And most of the water in Minecraft is would technically be considered coastal. No, don't do that. Take that back. I like that.
All right.
I was very proud of that. Hold on.
What is this
So
block
this is
here?
the cross section, and we've got
Oh, this is the cross section. I'm sorry. I thought it was somewhere else.
So we've got
Yes,
moss carpet
okay.
on the top, clay on the bottom, muck,
Nice.
then
Okay. Yes. Should I put a barrier around it so that there isn't water in there? Or do you like it as it is? I was thinking about doing that and having like benches around it.
that would make sense. I don't know. Whatever you think is.
I will just try it. And if we don't like it, we can easily get rid of it. Or you could have like a little sign and everything. It's like an outdoor exhibit thing that you would see in a place like this. And then let's see what I use. Stairs. That's right, stairs.
I guess I'll use spruce leaves. That would be the closest to cypress.
Well, this should be here. Really? I'm going to actually do this. So this would be like a little area that you could go to learn about soil profiles. Oops. Oops. Flooded myself. Okay, and then I want a little light somehow. Well, I've got a lot of lights to choose from now with these mods. Maybe. Oh, I can't put it on the side of something? Oh, that stinks. What else can I do? Why can't I put a lantern there? I don't know. We'll decide on that later. Oh, so you're starting some
Made a little.
Oh, look at
cypress.
that. That really does look. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So did you just make that tree from scratch?
Yep.
Can you do that? Okay.
Yeah, I just used stripped oak logs. And then the leaves are spruce leaves because spruce is probably the closest to. It's really the only conifer that we have.
Oh, really? Those forests that often are covered in snow in this game, that's spruce?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's like you're making a tree from graphs,
Yes.
combining species, which people do in real life. You can make a fruit tree that grows lots of different types of fruit.
All right. Should I add another one, or is this one just fine?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
All right, so what should I plant? Oh, well, let's start with the... First of all, this needs to be mud. The bottom of everything needs to be mud, so I'm going to do that. That cypress knee has a bubble around it.
Yeah. So it's actually a dripstone.
Right.
It's a stalagmite, is what it
Uh-huh.
is. And I think it just can't
Oh.
occupy water at the same time. And I haven't decided whether I like it or not.
That's weird that they would do that, considering you have structures like that in caves, in
yeah,
underwater
where water
caves.
is really important. And water is a large portion of the structure itself.
There are some great cave diving videos. If you've ever seen the YouTuber Jonathan Bird, Blue World, he's a professional underwater photographer and videographer, and he has lots of great videos where he's exploring caves underwater, lots of underwater environments. He is great.
Ooh, I like the cutout. I like that. That's
Thank you. See, I think if we do things like this and then add like educational signs and everything, by time we release this thing into the wild, people can actually explore and read and actually learn something. I think that's cool.
yeah.
But we can use vanilla signs for that, but we also have, I don't remember if it's a mod or what that allows us to add just like a JPEG to the game, just an image of anything. So we plan on adding signs and actual photographs next to all the exhibits so that you can actually read what's going on, what it's about, and learn what you'd learn here in the museum. I think that's going to make this unique. Oh, can we make the water brackish water? How does that work in this game?
Oh, I have no idea. Actually, I think the way it works is you have to it has to be in the correct biome, which is part of the code.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know whether you can set a location to be a biome with commands.
I think I saw that you can.
It would be through commands if you can do it.
I think it would be cool if we could make like a slightly deeper portion of this channel and have that be like the brackish water biome just to represent.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, there's like an underwater cave here naturally.
I'm finding some plants. Good plants. Yes. We've got we've got the cattails, of course. Duckweed. What is this? Lush moss.
I think we should give this another like maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
'Cause this could go long, but it can't.
Yes, very easily.
Trying to think what else I wanted to talk about. Oh, I mentioned I was going to say a little bit more about dragonflies. There's a lot to say about dragonflies. The fastest insects in the world are dragonflies. Dragonflies cannot walk. They can only stand still. There are these little creatures that look like dragonflies that are actually damselflies. And one of the easiest way to tell them apart, aside from the fact that damselflies are smaller, is that damselflies, when they land on something, they might be able to walk. But even if they can't, I don't remember, their wings fold up like this. So they are sticking straight up. Whereas a dragonfly, when it lands, its wings are going to be like that. They are predators, very fast predators, of course. I've seen someone do a neat trick where dragonflies will grab insects out of the air. I've seen someone that could do this trick where they would flip a coin, a shiny coin, into the air. And if they timed it well enough and were lucky, then they could grab a dragonfly out of the air while it was trying to grab that coin. What else do I want to say about dragonflies? Maybe that was it. I keep setting it back to day, not because I don't like the night, but just because I can see things easier. It's looking good. Oh, you're doing plants. Great. We can do a little carnivorous plant bog, like a little carnivorous plant island here once we do those.
Once we have that, yeah. So the floating plants can only be placed on water source blocks, it seems. But
a water source block?
So you know how sometimes water is like fills up a whole block, and then sometimes it is filling up only part of a block and it has a current?
Yes.
So when it fills up a whole block, that's a source block. Whereas if it's
All right, that makes sense to me. I think I've kind of figured that out naturally before. So you have to get a water bucket to fill up the blocks that are not already all the way filled up.
Yes, a water bucket creates a source block.
That is annoying. I can hear music starting to get ready for the big party tonight.
I'm gonna try and fix the water situation.
Yeah, I'm doing it little by little too. If you're holding down the button, it doesn't take too long. So what would be the difference between an alligator spawn egg? Oh, an alligator egg. Oh, okay. Huh. Oh, I've got from different mods, different alligators, it looks like.
Yes, I've seen that.
Let's see here. All the snakes. What would I find here? I don't know.
I'm gonna put a catfish in there.
What would be good plants? I guess we have like bushes or
There's azaleas.
uh
They're really the only bushes. There's grasses.
yeah. Tall grass. That'll work. Need a good buffer zone. Do some tall grasses. Just kind of doing this willy-nilly. We can clean it up more later. Oops. Well, I'm pretty pleased with what we've done here.
Yeah.
I think it could be a lot better when we spend some more time on it. Oh, jeez. That frog is climbing. Okay. Well, do you want to call it a day here?
Yeah, I think we're good. That snake is glitching out, but
Yeah. Let's see here. All right, everyone. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. This has been more of a educational episode than previous ones. I know we didn't have a stressful challenge or anything like that, but this is a topic we know a lot about, so we wanted to give ourselves as much of a chance to get out as much of the knowledge as we can during this episode.
this is definitely more of a we had fun making it.
Characters just
It's going absolutely nuts. I think it's the camera fell back a little.
Okay, yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thank you again for joining. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. We'll check on them and answer them as promptly as we can. But I'm Matthew, and
I'm
she's
Audrey.
Audrey, and we hope that you have a great day, and thank you for joining us here at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences in downtown Raleigh. We'll see you again really soon. Thank you all. Have a good day.